Greetings, one and all. It's Monday Night Mayhem, and on tonight's show, we're going to do something really fun. Do you remember 1987? Do you? Well, you might remember Joe Dante's 1987 flick, Innerspace, starring Dennis Quaid, Martin Short, Meg Ryan, and a copious cornucopia of Joe Dante stable actors like Wendy Sharl, Kevin McCarthy, Robert Picardo, and a few others to name a few, but we'll get into that the further we go along. Right, my first guest tonight, he's everybody's favorite sailing unit. He does bizarre things with RoboCop in private, and he has a subscription to WD-40, the one, the only Z3PO. Hello, sir.
Hello, Master Trevor.
And how are you, sailing unit?
Well, I'm fluent in over 6 million different forms of coitus, but tonight, my English robot butler voice is all yours.
Nice. Have you got a Lord Cord setting by any chance?
I wish I did have.
Because that Ferrero Rocher mode is it's silk.
It
honestly.
Anyway. Hello, chat. I see you there.
Oh, I haven't got around to the chat yet, but I'll say hello to them in just a moment. Our next guest, he's very, very small, but he's very, very helpful in a pinch. The very small help desk. Hello, Mini You.
I am the internet help desk, although 1/8 my size.
You've been shrunk. Have you been in that machine?
I have. Someone didn't know what buttons they were pressing, and I just ended up like this.
Oh, you know, there's been lots of people today pushing my buttons. Sadly, all the wrong buttons.
Exactly. And then this happens, and this is why you read the instructions first.
Well, RTFM. That's always good advice.
Absolutely.
And our final guest tonight, we brought him on for a very special reason, because he hasn't actually seen the movie we're talking about. So it's always good for somebody to put the brakes on every now and again and to go, whoa, hang on a minute. What? They did what now? And it's not like our guest to not just chip in when it suits him. He's the one, the only. He's our very favorite Canadian, Scotty R37. Hello, sir.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's always a pleasure to do so.
Well, nothing new there, and we always enjoy having you.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you on board, sir. And a quick hello to everybody in the chat. Let me just go through everybody. And I mean that as in terms of saying hello to people, not actually going through you. I'm not going to be shrunk down. All right. Minum, hello there. What's this? Sitting in front room, watching Live Aid. Sit up straight, you scruffy, whatever that is. I'll name the tune in one court order. Nice. Melvin Deeply. Hello, Melv. How are you, mate? You're all right. Ashen Prism. Hello. The Oldest Gamer. Hello, Gamer. The Hooded Man. Nice to have you in there, matey. Hope you're well. Who else we got in there? The one, the only, Andrew Broadbent. Hello, sir. Hello, Franco. He says, hello, Trev. Hello, Franco. And Finity the I can't even say it. Finity the timey-wimey limey. He'll enjoy this one. It's a Joe Dante film. I think he likes Joe Dante films. I'm sure he'll tell me if he doesn't.
Who doesn't?
Aloha, Flav. Pete. Oh, sorry. That was a rhetorical question. I'm just going through the motions here. Just bear with me a second, Scotty. Who else have we got in? Right. Carl Voigtlander. Hello there, sir. How are we?
Jawohl.
Nice. And that's about it at the moment. Everybody else who's viewing tonight, thank you for joining us. We're going to get straight onto it. Our very, very favorite film. And I love this. This is one of my all-time favorites. And I'm just waiting for the computers at Restream to catch up. Thank you. Didn't take you too long, did it? There we go. Let's start with some slides. I appear to be on the wrong side as usual tonight. Let's see if that does anything. There we go. That's better. And in typical Joe Dante style, but not always, a Warner Brothers picture. He likes working with Warner Brothers. He's a big fan of Warner Brothers too, because in every Joe Dante film, there's always a reference to Looney Tunes, and he uses a load of Looney Tunes sound effects in all of his flicks. Has anybody else noticed that? Apart from you, Scotty, unless you've noticed it in some of the films that you have seen by Joe Dante.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, no, but you guys talk about this movie.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. And a lovely Steven Spielberg presents, so we're talking Amblin Entertainment. Joe Dante actually said Steven Spielberg was a big help making this film because he kept out of the way and let Joe Dante do what he needed to do to get the flick made. And he also kept the studio off his back too, which is refreshing. Oh, speaking of refreshing, I always love this part of the scene where the credits are rolling. And it turns out, I don't know if anybody else likes this, but we're actually looking inside a glass of scotch. How cool is that? It's ice cubes.
That is cool.
Fantastic.
Macro photography at
Marvellous.
its finest.
It
Yep.
is.
Mm.
There's some big names involved in the special effects in this film. You've got Dennis Muren, who did all the Star Wars flicks. Also some stuff by Rob Bottin as well. But you'll notice that because later in the film...
RoboCop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll notice that one of the practical effects used later is very reminiscent of Dick Jones's short arms. Oh, it's a bone of contention, that one. It always will be. Oh, hello, MC. Thank you for joining us this evening. Flav says Bugs Bunny in this one. Yes, there is. Flav said he watched it about an hour ago just to refresh his memory. Well, let's start with our hero. This is Lieutenant Tuck Pendleton, who's a Navy test pilot.
That's his
What-
name?
what-
Is Tuck Pendleton?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love Dennis Quaid, and he's obviously on drugs.
Do have to say,
Quaid.
remember, this is a comedy.
It is.
It wasn't originally, though.
No, it
No,
wasn't.
it was a spy thriller. Yeah.
It was. And it was rewritten with comedy in mind.
Mm.
And then Joe Dante was brought back on board. They approached him with the original script and he went, this is trash, get stuffed. and it went for a rewrite. And after the rewrite, it's alleged that Joe Dante was more than happy to begin production.
Mhm.
But anyway, here's our hero, Tuck Pendleton. He likes a drink. He likes to party. He likes to get drunk and start having a go.
Now, I think that this is a common misconception about the thing.
Go on. I'm curious.
This is the last weekend that Tuck has before he's going to be experimentally miniaturized. Would you
Yeah.
be feeling the same sort of nerves and want to shake that off, get a bit of Dutch in you?
What do you mean by that?
A bit of Dutch courage.
Oh, I thought you meant a sailor. But never mind.
I was going to say that would be a very different Predator movie.
It would indeed.
Wouldn't it just? Over here. Lovely, lovely.
Bit of Dutch
Anytime.
inside you there. Mm.
Anyway, Tuck's on-off girlfriend, Lydia Maxwell, she's a journalist for a San Francisco newspaper, played by the lovely Meg Ryan. And isn't it bizarre that, these two got married as a result of working on this film, and then they have a son and bizarrely name him Jack? Isn't that
Oh.
weird?
Yes. Do you know who else was up for this role?
There were quite a few. There were about 17 different people for each role.
Jamie Lee Curtis, Linda Hamilton, Amy Irving, Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio, Demi Moore, Michelle Pfeiffer, Julia Roberts, Ali Sheedy, Elizabeth Shue, Sigourney Weaver, and Sean Young, to name a few.
Correct.
Which one was
I'm
going out
like-
with Steven Spielberg at the time because she
She
demanded
was,
to have
it was his wife at the time, wasn't it? She wanted to play the part.
Like,
Thank
and
God
also
he
think
brought
about
it.
think about when Meg Ryan was here. Like, this was around Armed and Dangerous. She was a supporting actress in Top Gun. Like, she was not Hollywood, or sorry, America's sweetheart at the time, but she would go on to become such.
Actually, all of them were up and comers. None of them were sort of like really big names at the time.
True. Well, I'm so glad she got the part because it fits her in a way. And I thought, what a good starting point for a career. And I thought she did really well in this role. Gorgeous too.
yes.
Mind you. Anyway,
Okay.
Tuck's basically a bit leathered here, and like a twit, he goes arse over tit. At least everybody's enjoying the performance. He didn't spill his drink. So anyway, he starts getting a bit of fisticuffs with some of the other pilots. And then, obviously, he's rescued by Lydia, who takes him away.
Can I just point out the reason for that is Tuck resigned his commission,
He did.
whereas they're all still enlisted officers.
Yeah. But he did this to go in the private sector as a test pilot. So anyway, goes back to his place, and Lydia's quite curious about all the rabbity things. Strangely enough, the rabbits call bugs. That's, that was not expected at all. And do you know what I'm really impressed with in this scene?
Wabbits?
No. Blackbird. They got the SR-71 on his back wall. Look. Lovely photos of the SR-71. That is a gorgeous beast. And Meg Ryan's looking quite good too. She looks quite tasty there.
I
Made
will
me
ride
laugh.
her tail anytime.
Well, yeah. Contrail, you mean? Yeah, definitely. Did you notice with the robotic arm, when he's trying to pour a vodka, he ends up pouring it over his cigarettes? Misses the glass completely. Well, he got about, a sip in anyway. So anyway, Tuck has a bit of slap and pickle with Lydia, as you do, because they're on and off. He's got an ace in his hole. We'll talk about that later, and it's not related to do with ace holes. Next morning, look who's there. Look who the driver is. He's going to close up early today. It's the one, the only, sadly departed Dick Miller.
Hells yes.
Another one of Joe Dante's stable of actors. Do you want to know a really bizarre fact about Dick Miller I didn't know until about 8 hours ago?
Go on.
He had a PhD in psychology.
Did he really?
Very cool.
Yeah. It was all set to be a psychologist. And he went to it was teetering on going to med school or something, or finish off doing what he was doing, or he was at med school. Something along those lines, but obviously he jacked it all in to be a writer, went to LA and sort of stumbled into acting. But I didn't know that about Dick Miller. To look at him, you wouldn't think he'd got a PhD.
No, I'm just reading his bio at the moment. He was noticed by producer-director Roger Corman, who did that appalling Fantastic Four film.
In fact,
but he wasn't Dick Miller in the original Little Shop of Horrors?
I don't seem to
I think he was. I'm pretty sure he was. And so, no, it's fantastic to hear about all these things. It's like when you find out that Dennis Farina was a real cop at one point. It's like, great.
Yeah, and he looks the perfect crim, doesn't he, really?
But Dick Miller is celebrated. Please celebrate him.
Hey, I thought
shoot off some firecrackers.
It was underrated. Ended up running a gun shop. That didn't work out too well for him, did it?
Wrong.
Anyway, time to catch up with the chat for a little bit. Menem says, Meg, just 1 second. Meg can pull a plough, according to Melvin. Gamer says, going Dutch, are we? Sword in the Storm's here. Hello, good evening. Good evening, sir. What else is happening in there? Sword in the Storm says, damn, Meg Ryan was so hot. She's got a bit funny with the lips, hasn't she now?
I don't know. Did you see the mayonnaise commercial?
I did.
And she's not looking that bad. There was a moment where she looked like she had been attacked by bees, but things seem to be okay now.
I don't know. You won't know this name, Scotty, but Leslie Ash sprang to mind for a little while.
Oh no,
you look like a trout.
Franco Walker says, not seen this film for years. I've got it on VHS somewhere. You want to look after that because Innerspace was one of the rare films at the time to be released in widescreen on VHS.
If I read it right, the only reason why this film is so beloved is because it's on VHS. It didn't do very well in the cinema, but the home release had better artwork on the cover.
It did, but it did make more than its fair share of cash back on theatrical releases.
Ooh, did it? I got a budget of 27 million, and it made
got the budgets here.
25.9.
I thought it made 95 back.
No, it was quite. It did really badly in theaters. It did a lot worse than Gremlins.
Oh, must be Gremlins.
What was the budget versus? Hang on a second, I'll look.
Go on. MC says adding Innerspace to the I need to rewatch list. That's a very good idea. What's this one? Flav says Franco Walker. Some of the comedy is a bit trite, actually quite annoying in my opinion, but it's okay overall. It's not bad. I mean, it has its high points and low points, but every film does, and it plays well with what it's got. I mean, fair enough, it relies heavily on Martin Short's ability to be good in a slapstick environment. Franco says at Flav, I didn't really mind the comedy at the time, not so sure until I rewatch. Gainer says Dick Miller was in the Police Squad TV series, one episode.
Very
Heavens.
cool.
But according to the PDAs that are wiki, the budget was 27 million and the box office was 95.
Yeah,
obviously
that's what I said.
With a pinch of salt, it was, you know, but I do agree with you wholeheartedly is that, yeah, this was a great VHS cover, and certainly it was ubiquitous. It was in every video store and it was facing you. This was not a spine movie.
Oh, if you're out and about and you're watching the move, this particular broadcast that we're doing right now, and you're enjoying it, please give us a subscribe and a like, won't you? Because YouTube tells me off a lot about not doing that, but I feel like a total slag saying it. So anyway,
come on, tweet it. Tweet it.
You missed the slide of Dennis Quaid's naked butt.
Yeah, but I didn't really want to go on about that.
Did we miss it?
No. Wait, Dick Miller, that was the only Dick we were interested in that picture.
Exactly.
So anyway, we
see
fast
Dick
forward.
Miller's butt. Sorry.
Well, you're in a
don't run with that. Don't run.
A league of one there. Oh yeah. Silicon Valley. 2 months later, we're in a doctor's office where we find that the button's not working. Oh, you got to love technology. Where we meet Jack Butter. He's a serial hypochondriac. His doctor loves him because you have to pay for medical treatment in some parts of the world, and he's obviously keeping this guy in business, basically. So yeah, he's a bit of a tit, really. Oh, I walked past a bus and I started sneezing. I'm bussophobic. Oh yeah, well you must be Jack. Well, I can't find out wrong way, but here's the check. So he's telling the doctor about this dream he keeps having where he's working at the till because he works in a supermarket and he's scanning everything through and it's going up to ridiculous proportions. And then he sees this woman. Oh, and she pulls a little tiny gun out on him. And then he kind of wakes up. The dream sort of stops there.
Wait, who's she?
Somebody Freeman. I can't remember her name.
She's in every Dante movie as well.
Yeah.
She's great. She was the Julia Child stand-in in Gremlins 2.
Right. Ooh. Anyway, in another part of Silicon Valley, here's Tuck Pendleton looking at this little craft wrapped up in gold tin foil. What is it?
Fantastic physical prop. Let's just appreciate that that's not a piece of shit CGI.
Have you noticed it's very similar in shape to the Thunder Road from the Explorers? You know, the spaceship the kids make?
Yeah, that's close. That is close.
Isn't it? That's the first thing that went through my mind on the rewatch. Yeah. Weird, isn't it? So anyway, this is Vectroscope, a private and secret lab in Silicon Valley where they're working on a miniaturization project. Tuck Pendleton's going to be the first human to be shrunk down to tiny proportions, smaller than my dick, and injected into a rabbit called Bugs. But,
so what, like the size of a skateboard?
Oh, no. I wish it was. So Tuck's getting settled into his little tiny pod. Already, you know, it screams of Fantastic Voyage, which the writer didn't even hide the fact that he completely ripped it off. So anyway, computers programmed up with the anatomy of a rabbit. But things might go a bit screwy. Squoey, later, squoey rabbit. So Tuck's placed into this little centrifuge-type collector device. And then they've got these little chips. One's for shrinking, one's for re-enlarging. I'm not quite sure how they make it work, because one of the chips is inside Tuck's little tiny submersible, and the other one, we'll see in a minute, is on the end of that robotic arm, and it goes into a circuit board in that chassis frame there. And there's our little chip. And do you know what impressed me most about this scene? Anybody want to have a guess? Because it's really nerdy and geeky.
You can shrink a ship using only 12 contacts?
Well, not only that, I thought the soldering was fucking exquisite. It really is. As somebody who solders quite a lot, that is really good quality soldering. I like that.
What year is this? What year is this movie?
1987.
Yeah, no, this looks so futuristic. Oh my God, look at the wires.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's purple wire. That's the future right there. So anyway,
well, and again, it goes back to Joe Dante in terms of the production design. It's like put some wires in it. Like he is gorgeous at visually representing what's going on. This is science, and it's like, oh, okay. He doesn't have to care about the actual physicality of it. No Heisenberg compensators, wires.
Oh, you don't need Heisenberg compensators for this. He's got annular confinement beans, for God's sake.
Anyway, we have soldering. Moving on.
Yes. Tuck's spun up in a little centrifuge, which makes me laugh. What if that thing slightly tipped over with, Tuck sort of jiggering about inside? If that had spun off, that would have killed everybody in that lab. Just saying. That's a little bit of a nitpick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's spun up like crazy. And the pyrometer says that much. Even though, isn't a pyrometer a measure of temperature and heat? Yeah, obviously it is. I'm guessing heat might be as an essential ingredient to being shrunk.
Yeah, well, it's got the degrees centigrade there.
Yeah. So anyway,
but what is that centigrade to centigrade? It's got one Fahrenheit, and then it's got centigrade to centigrade. It's a weird dial.
I think that was just a prop. It's what they had on hand.
No, it's fine. That's what I'm here for, yo.
True. Well, Joe Dante's from the school of Roger Corman, so he's taught early on to make use of what you've got and what you can get your hands on for free.
Well, and just so we can get this out of the way right away, is that like whenever we see anything that's supposed to be sciencey, it's just supposed to look sciencey, right?
Yes, but they actually wanted the engineers and scientists in this film to look like real scientists and engineers. So almost every one of these extras are from a jet propulsion lab where their technical advisor, Gentry Lee, came from.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
I have just realised I've dropped a major error here. Before Tuck gets into the submersible, he has a snog with one of the lab assistants, and then he has his photo took, and then he takes a photo with a girl. This was accredited as the first ever film to include the selfie.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? Polaroid. It was a Polaroid camera.
Holy crap! I'm writing that down.
This is the first movie officially credited as the selfie. That's where it was invented. Who knew?
So cool.
So anyway, we have a bit of industrial light and magic cracking off. Not bad to say Tuck were passing out a minute ago. Now he's complete. Oh, he's gone boz-eyed. Oh dear. It's like he's on the vinegar stroke with Meg. And he's shrunk down. And I like this bit because when he gets hit by whatever it is, they don't allude to anything. It's a laser, isn't it? Pretty much. And then it says he's being compiled. Well, it says they're compiling at the bottom. I like that. That's a nice touch. It's just
I mean, that could very well mean removing all unnecessary atoms.
I don't know. It's like
from the Matrix.
It's zapped him. And it's reproportioning him and, zipping him down and recompiling all those atoms in a different format.
Well, it looks very sciencey.
It does. So anyway, Tuck ends up in that needle there. He's in there.
I guess.
Yeah. It's marvelous. Somebody was going to say something before I rudely stopped you being rudely interrupted until I rudely interrupted you.
Oh, I was just going to say, because if you watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, there is a whole explanation in there about the fact that your atoms are actually majoritively made up of space. And so the science in that is a diffused beam actually shrinks the space in between the atoms and the electrons and stuff. And if you shrink each of the atoms, then you shrink the actual person. I think that you could use that logic to apply the science in here.
Yeah.
Well,
I like that.
It sounds plausible.
I think so.
Well, and not only that, and this is from what I understand of the film, which I haven't seen it, want to love it, is that it is a pressurized cabin. And so all of the oxygen that's going on when he's inside, does he ever get out of the boat?
Well, no, but there's a reason.
So then the air, like the air inside the ship makes more sense than him going out and doing stuff, because air wouldn't affect. Like, I get the whole make the space between spaces smaller. Anyway, moving on.
Possible. So anyway, he's floating around in an ominous fluid. I'm not going to say anything else about that. Hello to everybody in the chat. If you've got any comments you'd like to make about this film so far, then please feel free to air them, and I'll stick them up on the screen as we go along. For some reason, Restream is acting very slow tonight.
Do you see, like, do you guys play Fallout?
Not lately.
Well, but like the helmet of the
you said helmet.
I did say helmet. What a knob. And so anyway, but I think that the ship looks like a power armor helmet.
It does, doesn't it, actually, now I think about it? Yeah. Ashen Prism makes a very, very good point here. And he says, come on, what's wrong with you tonight? No, that's not the comment I was looking for. Ashen Prism says, I always go back to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids for my shrinking question. Yeah, I've got so much shrinking. It's not my waist. So anyway.
Well, you were in the pool.
Well, yeah, things do shrink. There's bugs.
I go back to Fantastic Voyage. Fantastic Voyage is my thing, and I don't even like that.
Oh, I even love the Fantastic Voyage 1968 cartoon series from Filmation. That was top quality entertainment when I was a kid.
Indeed.
I have to Google it.
So anyway, this is Ozzy. He's the head of this extravagant experiment. I can't remember his name now. Is it something horror? His name is Hora. He was suggested to play this part by Steven Spielberg. He was one of Joe Dante's production team. He's not even an actor. But Spielberg kept saying, go on, I want you to screen test him. I think he'll be great for this role. And they screen tested him, and it turned out it was really good for this role. He's not even a real actor. It was just some guy who worked for Joe Dante. But apparently, it's a reflection of how he is in real life. Like a bit of a science type, like a professor who's very forgetful and a bit skitty. Go on, Scotty.
Well, no, I'm curious because I can't really see his face, and the way the angle goes, he reminds me of Michael Ironside's henchman in Total Recall. Is that the same guy?
No, that's somebody Bell,
different guy.
Marshall Bell, a different guy.
No, Marshall Bell was the guy who gave birth to Quato.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway.
No, I was thinking, anyway, different guy.
I know what you mean. What's your mooth, Captain? I always like that scene in Total Recall because he's got a strong Toronto accent, if you notice. So anyway, Vectroscope's been broken into by what can only be described as a team of mercs because they seem to know exactly what they're doing. So they break in and start spraying everybody with these little canisters of Lynx Africa, which immediately knocks them out because, let's face it, Lynx Africa is a smell that could knock you out.
Yep.
Did anybody get any cans of that for Christmas?
As a teenager, everybody got a can of it.
Stop the press. Who is that?
That is Fiona Lewis, who plays Dr. Margaret Kanker.
She's a bad girl.
Who knows everything about this project, bizarrely enough. And we'll find out more about her, but she knows Ozzy quite well, who's the lead scientist on this project.
Well, I've just found the woman who I'm going to say, no, leave the jumpsuit on.
Just go back one slide, Trav.
Okie dokie.
One, please.
Okie dokie. You know, just before this scene, they're walking through a corridor and a guy comes out and gets sprayed in the face. That's Joe Dante.
It is, you're right. I forgot about that.
Cameo.
So, but is this better than bear spray? Like, it's just like an innocuous, you're going to fall asleep spray?
No, it's Lynx Africa, because one whiff for that and you wish you was.
Well, what does Lynx Africa do, you scientist?
Well, it's supposed to be a body spray stroke deodorant, but it smells. It's like Trailer Park Jean-Paul Gaultier. Put it.
I think in your neck of the woods, it's called Axe body spray.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's Axe body spray. That would knock you out.
There you go.
Definitely. So there's Dr. Margaret Kanker. She's a bad girl. Like, was it you, Help Desk, who said she was a bad girl?
Oh yes.
And she's quite an horny bugger too, as we'll find out during the film. She likes attachments, preferably from a tool manufacturer.
I'll leave it as a surprise. Scotty's going to love it.
Oh, he'll love it, yeah. So anyway, she steals the shrink chip, not the enlargement chip, but that's the shrink chip. The enlargement chip is inside Tuck Pendleton's little submersible. Hello to Not Brian in the chat.
Not Brian.
Hello there. I'm just having a quick look who was in the chat is all. So anyway, there's Tuck. He's in that syringe. And our hero, Ozzy, the scientist, sees it and decides to make a run for it. But outside, there's a bad guy.
Wait, go back one. I love the sign in the background that says bugs.
Yeah, that's the name of the rabbit, you doink.
No, I know, but I just love that there's a giant sign that says, this is where he is.
Well, Ozzy's quite forgetful, apparently.
But it's framing. It's like, this is absurd. Like,
well,
it's visually informing of what you are going through. And one of the downsides of watching this through slides and commentary is that I don't get to hear the music, because Joe Dante does who's the score guy? I
would say it was Jerry Goldsmith, but I can't say.
I thought he was more of an Alan Silvestri guy.
Hang on, yeah, it's Jerry Goldsmith. I thought it was.
It is Jerry Goldsmith. Oh well, good for him. Oh, great.
Because if you notice, when you do get round to watching it, you'll notice that it shares a lot of similarities with Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
It's long and boring.
Well, like when the Enterprise enters...
I kid. I love Star Trek: The Motion Picture, but that was an easy joke.
When the Enterprise enters the outer rim of Vija, that kind of music. When they're going through the layers, it's when
like theremins.
Well, not quite like that. So
anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about this movie. This movie.
Here's one of our bad guys. In fact, he's sort of like he's the main muscle bad guy. A guy called Mr. Igo, and he's called Snap-on for a reason. We'll find out shortly. So there's Vernon Wells, Bennett, led off the team Bennett. Yeah, that's Bennett from
Holy
Commando.
Crap!
So this was a year after. This was a year after
Vernon
Commando.
Wells sold me. Anyway, I'm going to mute for a second while I do shopping.
So he's been given the task to capture Ozzy. So Ozzy's nicked some kid's bike, as you do, and a kid's bike fits an adult perfectly. So after a bit of dodging, he ends up in a mall. And it says there, Santa Clara Fashion Square. So this is obviously downtown Silicon Valley. So he thinks he can lose him in here. And for one moment, I thought that was the mall from Commando. You know, the one where Matrix swings across them plastic tubes.
Oh, yeah.
And ends up on the lift, but it's a different lift. But anyway, Mr. Igo's looking for Ozzy in this mall. Ozzy takes a bit of a breather, thinks he's got away with it, but no, he makes eye contact with Mr. Igo, who shoots him with his finger. Go, gadget finger.
Pew!
Yeah, because Mr. Igo has got a fake hand. And he's got interchangeable attachments, Scotty. What do you reckon to that?
Dude, I'm shopping. Get off my lawn.
Atom Gray says, that's Vernon Wells. It is. It is Vernon Wells. Mog says in the chat, snap-on tool salesman.
Do you think he's got one of those for every occasion? Like he'd take it off and then put it back on. It's got a spork on it.
Yeah.
So he can have his dinner.
I bet he's even got a toothbrush attachment. You know, like one of them brawn whizzy toothbrushes.
Oh, yeah.
Ashen Prism says, watch Commando last night. Good. That's a good film. Come on. You don't want to stick a knife in me, Bennett. You want to party. Come on, do it. I don't need the knife, John. I don't need a gun. I love that. That is just some of the best 80s cheese in that movie. Melv says Vernon Wells' house burned down in those recent LA fires. Oh, no.
On the subject of Arnie, did you know that this film was initially planned as a launch pad because he wanted to do more comedy?
It was. And Michael J. Fox was touted as the Jack Putter role.
Wouldn't that have been quite a different film?
It would.
Yeah. Maybe in another reality, another timeline, that might have happened.
It should have been the other way around. Arnold Schwarzenegger should have been injected into Michael J. Fox. That would have been even better.
God. Where do you come up with this stuff?
Go on, just knock him out. I don't know what I'm doing.
Get to the miniaturization chamber.
Come on, get to the lower intestine. Fucking hell. Oh, anyway, let's continue regardless. Jack's there in the mall. He's looking at booking a holiday. You know, he wants to get away from it all and de-stress. And just one second, because we've got some worthy comments in the chat. Not Brian says rotating fork throw spaghetti for spaghetti rather. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. And Franco Walker says, what attachment does he use to wipe when he's been to the loo? Maybe he's got a moist towelette dispenser.
Just oven glove.
I know where it is. It's a mini bog brush like the ones you get from Temu, and he just whizzes it around his clinker. You know, although it would make his rusty sheriff's badge twice as rusty, I think.
A B-day attachment on his arm.
You never know. So anyway, Mr. Igo shot Ozzy in the back, as we could clearly see there. He's in the lift trying to get away, but he's not doing so well at this point. He's starting to flag a little bit. So, no, he's not looking for Zammo. There's nothing innocuous in that inoculation.
No.
So, Ozzy, he knows his number's up. He's not going to get far. Open the lift doors. There's Jack looking like a total doink. And Ozzy jabs him in the arse. Gives him some prick in his bum. As you do.
Calm down.
So he gives him a good old squoze of his fluid, which goes into his left bum cheek. And there's Tuck inside that syringe, and he gets jetted out at record speed. So much so, it not only does he end up with one chin, he's got more chins than the Chinese phone book. That's a good shot. It looks like he's having a crap. Interesting. I wonder how he went for a dump in there. But anyway, Ozzy's done for. Bless him. And last thing he sees when he's looking at it, and I just thought this was just so bizarre. You're dying and you look up and you see a load of people dressed up as animals, basically like furries. And that's the last thing you ever see. Gosh, that must be terrifying.
It is in 2025. I mean, you've got the fear that you're going to wake up with a sore bum.
Well, if you're dead, it doesn't matter, does it? So Mr. Igo's inspecting what's crack-a-lacking here. And there's Jack in the background. And then you've got some tulip, not him, because Ozzy's just died. Got some tulip with a camera. It's not even a smartphone. And Mr. Igo gives him a really nice, good chop in the back. And does anybody know who that guy is there?
No.
Go on, I'll give you a clue. One of Disney's biggest all-time animated movies. He's a voice in one of Disney's best ever movies.
It's not Lion King. Not Winnie the Pooh.
It is Lion King.
Is it Lion King?
It is Lion King. He's the pig. No Timon and Pumbaa.
Oh, yeah.
He's the pig.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Last time I saw him in an actual live action movie was Problem Child 2. If anybody saw that, I'm a big fan of the Problem Child movies, having got several of my own. So anyway, he takes that camera off. Which one is the pig? Is it Pumbaa?
Yes.
Pumbaa, yeah.
And just as Mr. Igo leaves, there's a clown there with a balloon, and he pops it with that syringe. What a knob!
Because he's evil.
Well, yeah.
Evil, so pop balloons.
Perhaps he needs to let off some steam. He probably would, actually. I'm sorry about the delay in swapping slides. I don't know what's going off, but it's running very slow. So anyway, Jack goes back to work. He's basically a glorified checkout clerk. And look, this Henry Gibson there, another one of Joe Dante's regulars. I'll never forget him in The Blues Brothers. You know when that car flies off the end of that freeway where there's no bridge? And it's just spinning around aimlessly. And that Nazi turns to him and says, I've always loved you. Look on his face. It's like,
I love Blues Brothers. Great movie.
Oh, best line in that for me is, hey, can you pass me the microphone? Hey, what car are we? 5-5. Hi, this is car 55. We're in a truck. I love that. That is the best line I've ever heard John Candy deliver. But that's just me. So Jack goes back to work. Tuck's sort of come to after being rapidly injected into somebody's arse. No comments. Thanks. And he's looking out of his little porthole.
And he recognises those as fat cells, so he's really done his homework.
Yeah.
That's exactly where he should be. Those are made out of Jell-O, you know.
A lot of the practical effects are actually jelly in this film, which is bizarre. But I like the fact, like, you know, Joe Dante says, you know, Roger Corman taught me very well, make use of what you got and what you can get for free. And, yeah, it's just a lot of special little tricks, camera shots, and, you know, they've got these amazing shots of... And I don't understand why it's so bright in there. Fair enough, yeah, he's got those floodlights on the front of his sub, but the light's coming from above. Now, if Jack's wearing underpants and breeches, where the hell's that light coming from?
Trev, you've never been inside a bum. You don't know what it's like.
Oh, well... Yeah, you've got me at a disadvantage there, sailing unit. So Jack goes back to work. And does anybody know who that lady is there?
I know her name's Wendy.
Wendy Sharl. And she plays the voice of Francine Smith in American Dad.
I did not know that.
Ooh.
Now you do. And a little interesting side note, Robert Picardo, as we know, is in this movie. He plays the cowboy. There's more about him later. But when Robert Picardo was in Voyager, there was an episode in season 3, I think it is, where it's called
Real Life.
Yeah. Where the doctor's given, he thinks he's got this perfect family. So B'Elanna alters the program, the holodeck program, to reflect what life is really like. And Wendy Sharl actually plays his wife in that episode.
Wow.
Beautiful episode. Beautiful episode.
Wonderful. It's very poignant at the end and heart-wrenching too.
It is.
Some good acting. So anyway, she plays a character called Wendy, and
Here's to Wendy.
She's the company bicycle.
She is.
She is the company bicycle. We'll find out more about that later. So Jack starts taking over this job, and look who's there. Lo and behold, there's that lady from his dream. And just as a side note, who's the guy on the right?
It's Rance Howard, yo.
It is Rance Howard. It's Bryce Dallas Howard's granddad, Richie Cunningham's dad, and Clint Howard's dad. There you go. Remember him in Gentle Ben's, eh?
I don't.
Mr. Boomhauer from Gentle Ben.
Was he?
Yeah.
Cool.
He was in the final deleted scene. Like there was supposed to be a coda to the end of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and he would have been in it, and it's deleted from the film. But yes, Rance Howard was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and I celebrate everything that Rance Howard has ever been in, including Bryce Dallas Howard's grandmother.
I haven't seen Gentle Ben since it aired.
You're not missing anything. Dennis Weaver, he was good in it. Clint Howard, a push. The Bear, well. So anyway, while hang on, let me get this right. Tuck is inside Jack, and because he's not making any sort of contact with the outside world, he tries signaling Ozzy and the rest of the scientists with an electromagnetic boost, an EMP, but that has a bad effect because it starts ringing up this till, the stupid proportions. Does anybody who know the guy who's next to Rance Howard?
Oh man, who is that? That's a guy I know.
It's Charles M. Jones, better known as Chuck Jones, the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes filmmaker who did all those great Roadrunner and Bugs Bunny flicks in the 60s and 70s. He was also in Gremlins as well. You know, when Charlie draws that picture and he says, "Oh, that's nice work." And he says, "Thank you, Mr. Jones." That's Chuck Jones, the cartoon man.
That's
from
awesome.
Looney Tunes.
So many cameos you don't know about.
My favorite Chuck Jones story is after, I think he was still alive after Space Jam came out. And he went to the Warner Brothers animators and everything, and he says, "You guys do not understand the Looney Tunes in any way, shape, or form. You have no idea how to work it. I think what you've done is bastardize everything that greats have created." And I don't know if this is a real story, but I know that there is a story where Chuck Jones has admonished anyone who worked on the Looney Tunes after 1990.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
But I just thought there's a lot of hidden gems in a Joe Dante movie. You have to look and think fast. So anyway, he's racking up this bill here because of this EMP that's being generated from inside Jack. And obviously, he's starting to have a bit of a melt because he is a bit of a melt, this guy. So lady pulls out a gun and it turns out to be a cigarette lighter. She sparks up in a supermarket. Long gone are the days where you could spark up in a supermarket. Crikey.
Well, you still get in trouble, but you can do it.
So I've taken a picture out, but Jack does something rather silly with some medication. But sort of Wendy slaps him around a bit and tells him to pull himself together, where Jack goes to the boss's office. In the meantime, Tuck's part of his mission is to attach a remote camera at the back of an eyeball of this rabbit. But he's not in a rabbit. So he doesn't know he's in a human yet.
God,
so
that looks painful.
It does look painful. And when he fires it off and it hits the back of Jack's eyeball, he screams like the devil. And he's, giving it all that. Yeah.
Who's that guy? Mr. Klopek. He's an Illinois Nazi.
Yeah, where were you?
I was smoking. Anyway, moving on.
Well, we've been there. We've done that. You missed the boat. I'm sorry.
Anyway, I'm the second guy to be excited about it.
That's fine. He's always loved you. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So anyway, the first thing Tuck sees is Jack's boss and Wendy, the village and grocery store bicycle. So Tuck's trying to figure out what the hell's going off. In the meantime, Dr. Kanker's developed these photos. That's rather quick. I don't think Boots could have done it in less than an hour. And that's not bad for 1987.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. So she sends Mr. Igo to go and retrieve Jack, which kind of boggles me in a way because later we find something else out. I'll point it out to you when we get to that point. Second part of Tuck's mission is to attach a sort of transceiver device to the inner ear of the subject. So that will allow not only audio, you'll have visual capabilities, you'll have the job lot. So during a lift ride or an elevator for our North Atlantic friends, he's going to see his doctor, and he's got a little voice in him going, hello, 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 computer. And he's looking around at people, and then he's
possessed.
Yeah, he's in the doctor's waiting room, and the voices obviously continue, and he starts talking to him. And
would he just be talking to a rabbit at this point?
Yeah, but
if the mission had gone right, he'd be talking to a rabbit.
I don't know.
Does this rabbit not know English?
It's a bit screwy.
Well, and big ups to the actor and the actress in the background here. Also, alumnus. I don't know. Did you guys cover this? We got Joe Flaherty, and
they're from SCTV, if I remember right.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They worked with Martin Short previously.
Yeah,
Andrea Martin. Joe Flaherty was in Back to the Future 2. Andrea Martin was Quark's mom on Deep Space Nine for
she was,
one episode.
Moogie. So Jack finally gets to see his doctor, and he's having a fucking melt because he's just a big melt. So he goes home, tries to chill out a little bit, and the voices continue in his head. So Tuck's trying to get his attention. Jack puts the TV on, starts watching game shows, and Tuck's like, I'm having none of this shit. You're going to listen to me whether you like it or not. And he does his mag boost and blows up Jack's telly. And he does it again, and then a video cassette goes flying out of the VHS straight out the window. I thought was just fantastically funny. It was just so unexpected. But because Tuck does too many mag boosts, it sort of backfires on him in a little way. He has a bit of a fire. So while that TV's burning, Jack runs to get a fire extinguisher. Tuck gets his own fire extinguisher out, and it's more or less a blow-for-blow copycat of Tuck putting out a fire while Jack's putting out a fire, which I just thought was just dead comical. They like mirrored each other at the same time. Jack gets a knock at the door, and then this guy turns up. And this is
what's his name?
I don't know. He looks familiar.
He is a well-known stand-up comedian. I'm going to look it up.
Is his name Phil something?
Rich something.
Rich something.
Yeah, Rich Hall, is it?
Rich Hall. He is so good. He is a fantastic comedian. And again, the only reason I draw attention to it, I hate to be the People magazine crossword puzzle of this particular stream, but I'm just like, oh my God, Joe Dante recognizes talent. Or maybe Joe Dante just knows what I like. I really have to see this movie.
Joe Dante hides under your sofa.
Oh, I hope so.
Hey, stranger things have happened. Melvin says Dennis Quaid was engaged to Lee Thompson, and he dumped her for Meg Ryan. I can't fault him. Then they had their mutant son who looks like Big Bird from Sesame Street. Oh, sound a bit jealous there. So it turns out this guy isn't who he's supposed to be. He's dropping some tickets off. How he got hold of Jack's holiday tickets is beyond me. And, he does a runner for it. He lays him out. He has a bit of a fight with him. And he manages to get away. But on the way out, Jack notices that the guy from the mall is going up the other set of stairs. Now, if Igo was sent to get Jack, and they were the only people who knew about Jack, where the fuck did this other guy come from? Who sent him? That is one of the unexplained plot twists of this film. Who
Dick Miller sent him.
Well, he's going to close up early today. But I don't know. I just couldn't get my head around that bit. Who sent him?
See you later, Melvin. Have a great day.
Oh, night, Melvin.
Hopefully the duty is successful.
All right, then. Take care, mate. So now he knows he's inside a man. The computer's changed its configuration accordingly. And because Jack's getting a bit worked up, Tuck's heading towards Jack's heart. Now, if he enters the heart, it's going to cause Jack to have a cardiac arrest. Another interesting, a geek would only know moment, the voice of the computer. Any ideas who the voice of the computer is?
If you say Majel Barrett.
No.
Voice of every computer.
No, it's a guy. I can't remember.
It is a guy. Well, anyway, you'll never guess in a million years who it is. It's a guy called Neil Ross. Now, Neil Ross was Ace McCloud's voice in The Centurions. He was also the voice of Springer in Transformers. But then again, it's one of them things, if you know, you know. If you don't, obviously I need to get out and laid more, even though I'm married. So, Tuck's heading towards...
to be your navigation voice on like, if you were turn left on Godrich Street, can you get his voice?
I don't know. If I could pick any voice for a sat-nav voice, it would be the voice of Gordon, the AI from Red Dwarf. You remember the one Holly was playing chess with? Did anybody remember that?
No.
Holly was playing chess with Gordon, another AI, via a message, and they retrieved that mail pod in the first or second season.
Wow, this is very specific.
Knight to Queen's Bishop 6.
That's the first season, and it's one of sort of like the middle episodes, and they're playing a game by post effectively. So it's one move, and obviously it's a million years. So
and then Lister says, "Who's winning?" I don't know, Dave. That was the first move. Oh dear. Anyway, Tuck's having a bit of trouble. He's stuck in Jack's artery. He's heading towards his heart. If he enters the heart, obviously he's going to cause him to have a cardiac arrest. So there's a tricuspid valve into the heart, and Tuck uses his little surgical laser to get out. This is the second time he's cut a hole in one of Jack's arteries. How he's not caused him to have an embolism?
Well, he's really, really tiny. You see how the craft is in relation to the blood cells?
Yeah.
So it's literally cellular size. The hole that he's making there would heal up in seconds.
I'd hope so, because I wouldn't want Jack to have an unnecessary ending.
Well, I have a question.
Go on.
Has there been a situation where like antibodies or anything have been like fucking with Jack? Or not Jack, whatever.
That's another good question, because his white blood cells would automatically recognize that pod as a foreign object.
I like that. I like that when it comes to, Fantastic Voyage, again, being I don't know.
Yeah.
Scientifically correct when the white blood cells start attacking the ship.
Yes.
Well, it's just something that it's like, okay, so what else? And it makes it more interesting. Obviously, this is a body control movie, as we'll get. We haven't even got to the musical number.
True. Anyway,
this is a Joe Dante movie. We're not here for Star Trek.
Let me just point out as well that the pod has been constantly moving since Tuck got in there. So I doubt the white blood cells have been able to track him down yet.
True.
Okay. So is he steering? Like he's going to specific places?
Yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't know he's in people.
He does now. He does at this point. He knows he's inside.
Now he does. Now he does. Okay,
so he goes back to Vectorscope. This is the lab where the experiment was performed. That girl with the pink and white lab coat on, she was the girl in the selfie, in the first movie Selfie. There we go. I have no clue who she is. And so anyway, they go back to Vectorscope. There's the project director and some ominous CIA type. And they're like, "Oh, we'll get you out. Don't worry." All being patronizing and shit.
I know that guy.
He's been in loads of stuff, loads of Joe Dante things.
Lots of stuff. Too hard to nail down is what I'm saying.
Well, I'm trying to get through this because I do actually want to go to fucking bed at some point this week.
Yeah, I understand.
So anyway, they're having a discussion and Tuck says, "Look at him head on and I'll amplify the signal." And they're basically saying, Tuck's a bit screwed. Jack will probably piss him out in a month or so. Let's just leave him to it. And it's a screw you situation. So Tuck says, "Right, screw these clowns. Nip in the back when you've done having a tabang. Right? My jacket's in my locker. My car keys are in there. Mine's the red Mustang. Jump in it. You're twocking it, but with my permission." And he goes for a bit of a spin in Tuck's Mustang. That's a nice face, isn't it? It's like he's on a vinegar stroke. Is there somebody
it's an
down
O
there?
face. That's an O face.
It's a cum face. That's definitely a cum face. Hello, anti-derivative Jill. She's in the building. She's in the chat. Just thought
Hello,
I'd let you know,
Jill.
Scotty.
Welcome to the party, pal.
So these two come back in. Obviously, Jack's chuffed off. And Jack heads off into San Francisco. Some nice area shots of the Bay Area in there. Is that the Oakland Bridge? I don't know because I haven't been to that neck of the woods.
Well,
So
he's obviously on the highway to the danger zone. Look at that
True.
jacket.
Yeah. Well, Meg Ryan was in Top Gun, so hey ho, why not? And he's having a conversation as you do, and he ends up at Jack's place, and he more or less says, "God, what a shit tip." And Jack says, Tuck says, "I call it user friendly," which I thought was a great line. Yeah, your house is a shithole, but it's user friendly. Never mind. So anyway, at this point, Tuck's not had a drink for at least 6 hours, and we're not talking water or any decent beverage. He wants a proper drink because he's a man, and real men have real drinks. And in his little suitcasey thing, he has a flask in there, like you'd take that with you. That rabbit, were they planning on getting some Jack Daniels or something? So he says to Jack, "Go on, have a swag of this whiskey," which is not whiskey because that's Southern Comfort, and that's just disgusting piss. It's hillbilly piss, let's face it. So he has a good glug. Tuck puts out his little flask, and I'm sure Tuck's possibly put out for less than a drink. So he finally gets some booze in him, and he's quite happy. But after a sniff and one drink, Jack's pissed as a fart, and he's dancing around to Twisting the Night Away. Oh, look, Bugs Bunny. Yeah. Oh, look at that fish in the sink. I wouldn't say it was user-friendly. Oh, dear. Have we offended Scotty? Oh, I think
maybe he's gone for another smoke.
Hang on a minute. Something's beeping at me.
Beep, beep.
I can't figure out where it's coming from. This is bizarre. I'll learn to use this fucking thing one day. Oh, maybe Scotty's otherwise found something else to do. If you want to come back in, Scotty, feel free to. Now, if that isn't recycling a headshot, I don't know what is. So Jack's looking at Lydia, and he's taking a bit of a shine to her, and Tuck's like, keep your eyes off. It's my bird. She's my chick. And then he goes, "Is this you?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's me." "Oh, look, you're in an airplane." And he's like, "No shit, I'm a test pilot. What do you think I'm going to be in?" So he looks in a mirror, and Tuck finally gets to see what Jack looks like. A total dweeb.
And in this scene,
go on.
Jack hiccups, and that's actually a recording of Mel Blanc.
It is. You are quite correct, sir. Like I say, Joe Dante's got a bit of a fondness for Looney Tunes, and there were a lot of like Warner Brothers Looney Tunes stuff used in the back doors. Sorry, in the production of this film. I'm sorry about the slowness of the system tonight. It's not on me. It's down to Restream. So Lydia, she's talking about this story, and this guy on the left, he says, "Oh, look, the cowboy's in town." And that leads us to our next bit, because who should appear on a plane in the next scene but the cowboy, who's some Brazilian dude who dresses like a cowboy. And look who it is. Please state the nature of the medical emergency. Yeah. It's Robert Picardo with a nice porn
brown face.
Well. Anyway, apparently Cowboy's got an incredible tolerance for pain. That's why he's in this movie. But he stubs that cigar out in his hand. Sniffs it, and he goes, "There's nothing like a good cigar." And then he sticks it in the guy in the next seat's pocket, which is, what you do in that situation. Oh dear. I wonder what I'm getting a bit concerned now. Scotty did sort of disappear in rather an abrupt way. I hope you're all right, Scotty. Anyway, Jack's still cruising around in Tuck's Mustang. 1953 Mustang. I don't know. It might not be. I just made it up. And he pips at Lydia, and Lydia's like, hang on a minute. What are you doing in this car? I know who owns this car. And, he's got a bit of knowledge. And then he says to Lydia, I've got to explain some stuff to you. And they have this bit of a chat. He can't go into too much detail with her because he doesn't really want to give the game away at this point. He doesn't want to tell her too much because, she'd probably not believe him. So they're having like a remote argument here, aren't they, basically? Tuck's like, which I thought was quite funny. And I love this scene. Jack goes for a slash, and that's Stephen. Is it Stephen Forrest? I don't know. I can't remember. He was in Gremlins, wasn't he? He was the garage owner. You remember that? The petrol station owner in Gremlins?
Offhand, no.
Yeah. Well, he was. And he says, shake it, don't talk to it. You weirdo. What's that saying? If you shake it more than 3 times, you're playing with it.
Well, more than 3 times, and that's a wank.
Oh. Is that our first proper naughty word of the night? Well done, you. So anyway, Mr. Igo finds Jack, but Lydia says, I've got this new thing. It's called a taser. Wonder whatever happened to those. So anyway, she says, if you don't drop him, I'm going to drop you. So, it's a case of, well, go for it anyway. And she shoots poor old Jack. She must have hit his Safeway badge, because that's quite a spark, really, isn't it, for a taser? Tasers don't spark like that.
Oh, but the tasers were new back in the 80s.
They were the next big thing. Like I was saying, I wonder whatever happened to them.
This is a taser gun.
As a result, that electricity goes straight through to Tuck. And I'd never noticed this before.
No, me neither.
But you can see his skeleton. That looks like his brain and then like the rest of his skull.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an effect. Love it.
Back then, for 87, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that scene goes so fast, you don't get to see these sort of things.
Yeah, but that's Joe Dante. He goes to the absolute minutiae, doesn't he, with details. But when I'd looked at that, and I'm like, is that right? And I did a bit of a double take, but that really was literally a thing. So Mr. Igo picks him up, carts him off, and he nicks a meat lorry, as you do. Oh dear, meat lorry. That's just hilarious.
Doesn't he have a car? How did he get there?
Well, he obviously got there in his Beamer and he's left it, and then he's knocked that guy out and nicked his meat truck. Lydia sees Mr. Igo leaving, and she jumps, obviously, in Tuck's car. Jack's gone a bit chilly-willy here, bless him. He's stiff at last. It's colder than a ice-popping Hoth. Hey, these punnagers aren't working tonight. This is quite interesting. If you notice there, it says, serving the Bay Area since the quake. Does anybody know which quake it's referring to?
Earthquake the movie?
No, the earthquake of 1909.
What?
That was the last big quake in San Francisco until 1989. So 2 years later, there was that really big quake. And in radio, we had to stop playing Marty because I feel the earth move under my feet for 2 weeks. So anyway, Mr. Igo meets up near the Golden Gate Bridge with this guy here, who's Mr. Scrimshaw.
Yes.
He's a banker, an industrialist, and he likes stolen technology.
I first saw Kevin McCarthy in Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
You will have done, yes, the original.
Oh, yeah.
He was also in UHF, if anybody saw that.
Good old Weird Al.
Seasoned Dante affiliate.
Yes, he is indeed. And Scotty's back. What the bloody hell happened to you, sir?
Oh, I just got kidnapped by a car called Sub-Zero. What happened? What did I miss?
Yeah, did you have to go and stick 10 bob in the meter?
I did have to do that.
Ah, well, that's good. So anyway, that's Mr. Scrimshaw. He likes buying stolen technology, often in partnership with the cowboy. So anyway, Scrimshaw's there with more henchmen. There's Mr. Igo. There's Margaret. And she's just checking him. She says mild hypothermia and says she knows a way of warming him up whilst rubbing his little man.
So is that Kevin McCarthy?
It is, yeah.
Effing A, yo.
Yeah.
That's great.
Like as I mentioned to the everybody else, he plays like he's a banker, a disgraced lawyer, an industrialist. He likes dealing in stolen technology. He's quite interested in the future of miniaturization technology. He says, people have got nuclear weapons, but this thing, miniaturization, it's the next big thing. I like how he put that. That was a good bit of wording. So he starts giving Jack all this spiel in the back of this truck. And the rumor is Joe Dante wrote this immense speech that is pouring out to Jack. But during that monologue, right, Tuck's talking to him. He's narrating, so you don't actually hear a word he's saying. So Lydia's watching from a distance. And it's funny that, why is Mr. Igo's Beamer there? Somebody must have drove it for him. I wonder what they did with all that meat.
Maybe it was the guy who went in with the gun at first.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think so. So Lydia's following what's left of the meat truck because, Scrimshaw's in there talking to Jack, and he's saying to Jack, "Come on, sort yourself out. I'll tell you how to get out of this situation." And he basically cajoles him psychologically into thinking he's got superpowers because Tuck's going to manipulate his hormones. They're not noises what come out of a brothel, by the way. As Zio put you straight on that, won't you, mate? So here we go. This is that whole lecturous diatribe that Scrimshaw's coming out with in the back of this van. And all the while through it, Tuck's talking to Jack. And Jack's like, "Oh, I've got the power to get out of here." And he goes bollocking for the door and goes swinging out. And it's funny that he jumps straight out of there. Look at his hands. They're all a normal colour, not a sign of frost or anything. And he's got the ability to grip onto things after being in the cold for all that while, which I thought was quite funny. So,
okay, hang on.
Go on.
I am a big fan of suspension of disbelief. And so you're saying in this movie at this point, you're like, he's too cold to hold on to stuff. And yet we are also dealing with the miniaturization of like a spaceship into organic beings. If that's what we're discussing.
Well, being fair, Scotty,
he
is being pumped full of adrenaline at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I like where your head's at.
Don't ask him where it really is, please, for God's sake. So he does this miraculous thing where he's on this belief that Tuck's manipulating his bits and bobs to make him a Superman. He ends up back in his own car, and then Lydia and Jack, they figured out where the cowboy's stopping, so they want to start tailing him to figure out where to go next. And there he is. There's the cowboy. Please state the nature of the medical emergency. Yeah, you wearing a Stetson hat.
Yeah, I don't think we established it earlier, but Lydia is a reporter.
Yes, she is.
She's Lois.
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah. For all intents and purposes. Oh, this thing has been a dick tonight. I do apologise.
Look at all the pink.
So I love that it's just in the corner of the office.
That looks like the same loft they used in Wayne's World.
Oh, wow. I would like to say also that I don't think that they dyed the dog pink. I don't think that he's
think it's a lie.
It is a lie.
I think it's a gel. I think
it is a gel.
Lighting gel.
And this is an interesting part. Mr. Snap-on is having a bit of a cuddle with Dr. Kanker. And can you tell what that attachment is, Scotty? I can't quite make it out there.
I'm just looking at the doctor and thinking she smokes 2 packs a day.
She probably does. If she smokes, she pokes.
What's the attachment? What's the attachment? I don't know.
I can't quite make it out, Scotty. What
is
do you
it
presume
a
it might be?
shocker? One in the pink, two in the
It's certainly going
stink.
to cause a buzz. Yeah. It's certainly going to cause a buzz. And it does make a buzzing noise, if I remember right.
It does, yeah.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't look at all rampant. I know there's mention of rabbits in this movie, but anyway, I think we can all say
that's all, folks.
Yeah, for that scene. We know what it is. So anyway, Cowboy's been shopping for boots and he's trying them on. And look at that, he's got a ghetto blaster in his luggage. Actually, in his luggage.
That's class.
That is class. I mean,
Rodney Dangerfield would be proud.
Hey, we're all getting laid.
Yes, sir.
I've always wanted to say that live on a stream. So they're in the next room to the cowboy, and they're coming up with this grandiose plan to follow the cowboy into town and figure out what he's up to. Jack, is scoping out Lydia's ass, and Tuck's not too chuffed about that. And he's like what you say, that's my bad. But Jack's developed quite a bit of a soft spot for Lydia. It's not going to work out well for him. So anyway, here's some info on Victor Eugene Scrimshaw.
He is the owner of the VHF channels in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he doesn't like. Oh, sorry, wrong movie.
Yeah, that you're thinking of R.J. Fletcher. He bears a striking resemblance to him, though, doesn't he? So
Wasn't
it says
he the bad guy in a Superman movie? No, wait.
No. You're thinking of Ross the Boss from Superman 3, probably.
I was. Totes. Napoleon Silva.
Yeah, so it says here, he was a lawyer, banker, business executive, went to Yale, University of Virginia, managed to keep himself out of a world war and Korea. Funny that. Moving swiftly on. If you don't mind, please. My assistant's slower than Forrest Gump. So this is the scoop from Lydia's information man at the newspaper about Scrimshaw. And, she's getting some more bits and bobs from her info guy. In the meantime, we've got another plot device here because Tuck has only got so much oxygen, right? Hello to Rennie in the chat, by the way. So that's another factor for urgency in this film.
I'm glad they bring it up. I'm glad they bring up the science. Hey, Rennie.
Before they did countdown timers in virtually every movie, I think this was quite an early one to use that.
Yeah. Well, another convenient plot device.
I like the fact that it wasn't actually mentioned before this point, and then suddenly it's, oh crud, I've only got this much oxygen left. Because if it was you, that is what you would do. You'd only realize there was a problem when the warning light came on.
And yes, that's something that I would like to, it wouldn't be something that would be, oh, you only have 7 hours of oxygen, and that is in the first act. And then by the time you get to the third act, it's like, oh no, do you remember? And it's like, oh, damn it. But it's like, it's something that you wouldn't think of. It's kind of like, oh no, if we're going deeper and deeper in the ocean, are we going to be crushed? And it's like, you're not going to find out until the last minute.
Well, he's got to use special oxygen, hasn't he?
Space, and we go to the space station. It's like, are we going to be able to leave? And it's like, we're not going to think about that until it actually happens. And
he's
so
he's on the special oxygen, by the way. It's special oxygen. It's been reduced. It's diet oxygen.
Pressurized.
So Jack's dressed up in Tuck's clothes. What do you think, Lydia? And I still don't think she's going to bone him, but she tarts him up all the same. And then they go out to follow the cowboy. Oh, Tuck's pining for her now. So anyway, cowboy's off out on the pull in San Francisco. Oh dear, probably the worst place in the universe at that time to go out and try and score. Because let's face it.
Well, it depends on your tastes.
A lot of rum diseases in San Francisco. So they're following the cowboy, they're hot on his heels, and he goes to some weird nightclub, what seems to be out in the middle of nowhere. For a minute there, I thought they were going to just start like dancing in a car park. It's like he's had a couple of E's and he's feeling quite relaxed. His nipples feel great, and he's going to start dancing one out. But that's not quite the case at this point. So Jack and Lydia just pull up in a car. Valet is like, "Oh yeah, take it easy with the car," and he like, pew! He chuffs off. Probably never to see that car again, but we do later. Don't worry about it. And look who's in the queue. It's Wendy with Cousin It from the Addams Family. I won't spark that fag up. Your hair will go up. I'm not supposed to say that on YouTube, am I? It doesn't know that we call cigarettes that, but never mind. So Wendy's like, "Oh, hang on a minute. There's Jack there. I'm going to try and get in this nightclub a bit quicker because of Jack." She didn't want to bother. When he was shaking his banana at her, she was not interested. Now, she's seen an opportunity to get 50p off for a tin of beans. She's in there. Is that taser? What's she got in her hand? Looks like a taser, doesn't it?
Is this the moment where it turns into a body control movie and then Jack, Tuck Speedman makes it so that he can be like all attractive to Meg Ryan?
Not quite. So anyway,
Okay.
Meg Ryan's character, Lydia, she's trying to basically honey trap the cowboy. Does anybody know what he's whispering in her ear on?
The same thing that was whispered into Scarlett Johansson's ear by Bill Murray in Lost in Translation.
Possibly not.
Exact same dialogue.
I use spit as lube.
I know what he's
saying.
That
is exactly what was said in both films.
He's saying to her, "Do you want to go for a kebab after? I'll put chili sauce on it, love. You'll love it. Like
Doggy style and Deep Space Nine so we can both watch."
Do you want a cowgirl this cowboy?
Ooh. 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 Don't start with the white wee wee.
White wee wee.
So, Lydia disappears with the cowboy, and Jack's getting a bit worked up. He's going back to the hotel, and he is getting a bit worked up. And there's a reason for that, because he's stimulating his adrenal gland. Hang on a minute, isn't that a scene from the Terminator? You know when the Terminators go into that tiki motel and he's riding that bike? I'm sure that's the Terminator. Look.
I'll have to rewatch it.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
It does.
And do you know what makes me laugh about the scene where the Terminator rings the hotel up and he goes, "Hello, Tiki Motel. Give me your address there." The guy who says, "Hello, Tiki Motel," that's James Cameron. Boring,
really?
Interesting fun fact, yeah. So Jack kicks this door in, and the cowboy's opening a bottle of champagne, pops his cork, nearly hits Jack, and he goes, "Hey, Big Jack, no need to knock, come on in." And he says, "Knock him out." So Jack goes to knock him out, although he looks quite campy and effeminate in that particular pose. That's not a good place for a screen grab, is it?
You're up against a guy wearing pants and a cowboy hat, and you look effeminate. He's not doing very well.
So did he take his trousers off and then put his boots back on?
He was waiting for a lady.
He said he doesn't take his boots off. He has sex in boots.
Yeah, I've been waiting. I want a girl.
So Lydia's back in the room next door, and she comes in hearing all this commotion and says, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Well, I've just knocked him out." "Oh, that's nice." Which is good, because they tie him up in the bath. And this is about to signal one of the high points of this film, because one of the part of the experiments that Tuck was supposed to do was facial manipulation on a rabbit. So Tuck and his computer scanned the cowboy's face, right? This is where it's going to get interesting. So he says, "Go to the mirror." He says, "Look in the mirror." And if you notice, we've got the cowboy in the bath. And he says, "Hold on, this is going to pinch a bit." And Jack's face starts distorting. And this is done really well. For the time, yeah, fair enough, it's a Moonraker, hold the air hose in your face moment.
Yeah.
But it is just done so well. And like, they must have used 10 tins of hair lacquer on his hair, because it doesn't move once. So they did well there. So Jack's face starts contorting and twisting, and he's magically turned into the cowboy.
The whole effect of the change with all the prosthetics and the bouncing around, it reminds me of The Thing. Which, I mean, Rob Bottin worked on The Thing, so I can understand sort of like the pedigree of it.
Well, you know, in the bit where he turns into the cowboy, there's no prosthetics used. It's just head spinning and a quick change of actor halfway through, and a bit of crafty, careful editing.
Even those prosthetics there, he looks just like Robert Picardo.
He does, doesn't he? Who would have thought? So anyway, the plan is Jack's going to pretend to be the cowboy and meet up with Scrimshaw. And we'll see how that goes. So they meet up. And if you notice, Jack's sporting a gold tooth. That was a wrapper of some bubbly, what Lydia had got out of her purse. I'm sure that was nice and sanitary. So Scrimshaw's like, "Oh, hello, cowboy," in that Kevin McCarthy voice. And, Tuck's taking it all in. And they sat down to this bit of a breakfast meeting. And it gets to a point where Kevin McCarthy's character starts thinking there's something a bit off about the cowboy. And then there's a great line.
We'll also never trust the lady who is wearing the same colored blazer as the main villain.
True, there is that. So at this point, it's like, well, we've only got one chip, and this cowboy character, who we'll refer to him as, says, "Oh, it's okay. I take what you got. We whet their appetites." Although he sounds more Italian in that particular voice. So, Dr. Kanker shows him this chip. But look at her fingernails. They're absolutely fucking disgusting. I wouldn't trust her as a doctor. Jesus. Scruffy fingernails, dirty bitch. She's probably had them up Mr. Igo's back doors.
I think
so. Anyway, Kevin McCarthy's character, Mr. Scrimshaw, says to Lydia, "I wonder if Cowboy has told you about his legendary stories about his pain tolerance. That's who you really are, Cowboy." And he says, "Instead about some pain, how about some real pain? Propane." And Mr. Igo's little snap-on hand turns into a blowtorch. And this starts tripping Jack out a little bit, and his adrenaline obviously kicks in. And the face starts going back to normal. And I like this scene here because he's spit an image of that doctor from Star Trek. It's uncanny.
He is. Go back one. Is that an Atari joystick connector?
It's a DB9 connector. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Actually, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's a DB9. And if it's good. I mean, yeah, fair enough.
At the time, that was high end. That was 115 kilobits per second.
That was your RS-232 interface lead. Yeah. So Jack starts tripping out. Obviously, this is going to revert him back. And this is one of those prosthetic Rob Bottin masks. And you can tell, can't you, there? That looks dead on like the Thing. But that was the only point in this film where they were using his prosthetics when he was transforming back into Putter from the cowboy. But there were some good masks. If you do it pause by pause, it is quite good. And there's a lot of clever editing in this part. Well, that is straight out the Thing. Because look, his teeth are on one side and he's like normal face Jack. And the other half, it's, I don't know, he makes Slothy look good. From the Goonies, doesn't he?
Well, he certainly does. It looks like one of those fat phobia influencers.
Yeah. Well, this is a great reaction. They're all like shitting themselves, and Scrimshaw's like, "Get thee behind me, Satan." And Scotty's gone again. Oh, well. Moving on now. Because I do want to go to bed at some point. And there's 31 minutes left of the... Minum has come out with a good one here. Looks like Leslie Headland. Leslie Headland wishes. Head. Yeah, she's a fucking Lego head, isn't she? So he turns back into Jack Putter, grabs the chip, and there's a bit of a tussle for it. And it gets chucked around. And you wouldn't believe where it ends up. Jack throws it. Lydia's no good. Birds can't catch. And it ends up in the dog's food. Hang on a minute. Is Scotty back? No, I think he's trying. I think
While
he's
you're
having technical
checking,
difficulties.
if you look in the background at one of the chairs in the conservatory, there's a
Yes.
pod from Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Let me go back one.
Oh, you won't see
No.
they've not played a slide with it in.
That's all right. I really do want to press on because have you noticed here? Can you see Dr. Kanker's nasty gash there? That monkey is proper chewing on the chops there, isn't it? He's digging in the dirt, and yeah, she's got her gash on show. That looks a nasty crack at the top of them legs. Anyway. Yeah, so everybody's back to square one. Mr. Igo's got hold of Jack, and that bloke there is pulling a right face. So they end up in a bit of a impromptu prison. And whilst down there, Jack's a bit of a cheeky boy. He nicks a snog from Lydia, and mind she probably has. During this particular kiss, something wondrous happens, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. If anybody wants to jump in with anything here, feel free to do so. Anybody got any thoughts about the film so far, and what did you think up to this point?
This is one of the films I absolutely love. It's just got everything sci-fi comedy. Martin Short's physical comedy is amazing in this.
It is, I agree.
I think some of the scenes were actually ad-libbed so that he could take more advantage of that. I'm glad he was cast in the role, to be honest.
He does actually, make use of his slapstick humour in this film. And Joe Dante is well renowned for letting people ad-lib during his films. And I'm sure he would have let Martin Short, go for it and just have a bit of fun with it, because everybody that had anything to do with this production, everyone said it was one of the best movie making experiences of their career, basically. Go on.
I was just going to say, I was reading up on this, and Quaid was always on set, despite the fact they never meet in the movie until sort of like the last 5 minutes.
He was in the next room, wasn't he?
He was sitting in a box all the time. Yeah,
he was in a sound stage, and Martin Short was like at the other end of a speaker. You remember in Crossroads when anybody used to answer a telephone call and it sounded dead boxy, like it was in the next room? It literally was done like that. So Chlamydia and Jack are heading to Scrimshaw's laboratories, where Dr. Kanker's basically setting up the shrinking experiment to get hold of the chip, what's in the submersible. So Jack's restrained. He's got this fancy proper Bo Select collar on. Lydia says, "Don't go messing in there, mate. You'll be sorry." He gets tased. She gets his gun. Mr. Igo's got a little, like a spacesuity thing on. He's going in the back of their version of the submersible.
It's a bit like Maximilian from the Black Hole, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Except it's Bennett. I just can't get it out of my head. It's just Bennett. Come on, Bennett. You want to party? So Jack's cacking himself. He tries to get up, thinking that Jack's giving him the strength with a boost of adrenaline. But he's not hearing anything from Tuck, because he told Tuck just to turn all his sensors off so he could cop a crafty snog with Lydia. And he thinks because they got turned off, they've not come back on right. But Bennett's looking forward to going into Jack. I'm not sure which orifice he's looking forward to going in the most, but he definitely looks quite happy about making an entry. So, anyway, while all this is cracking on, we discover that Jack's actually inside Lydia. And is that little Jack Quaid in there? It looks like him, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. It's their freakishly large kid.
Yeah. It does look like him, doesn't it?
Certainly got the eyes.
Yeah, definitely. Like one of those grey aliens from the X-Files. But I digress. So Jack's like, "Oh, I'm going to be a dad, and I'm look, I'm going to change my ways. I'm going to stop being a pisshead and stop fighting people in kebab shops."
Well,
So
let's just slow down a second here. She'd left him.
Well, we know that.
Would she have even told him?
I don't know. Maybe she didn't know herself.
Could be.
So she's got Mr. Henchman's gun. She calls for the cops after ringing this guy. Well, he calls the cops. She rings him. Oh, look, we're doing this, and you call the cops. And he says, "Black man calling the cops." Joking, right? So they go to shrink Mr. Igo. And obviously they've got one half of the chip equation. They've got the shrink chip, but not the enlarging chip. But they need that to make a sale on these chips. But if you noticed, the level of technology, she says, when they break into the lab at the beginning, oh, look at this place. It's a scruffy shithole. And you see this version of the same equipment, and it's all nice and tidy and prim and proper. It just shows you what big tech, big money can do for technology. You know, they could build it the right way instead of the people who are actually developing the technology have to scrimp and save and make do with what they've got to actually perform all these experiments.
That's consistent in lots of movies where the bad guys always have better equipment.
You
know, Empire versus Rebels in Star Wars.
Well, you look at that setup compared to Ozzy's lab at the beginning.
It makes you wonder, if they built all that, how come they couldn't master the chip themselves?
Yeah. And how did they know how to make the interface to make it work with those chips if they didn't have them? More questions. So there's more questions than it solves, really. So Mr. Igo's been shrunk down, and he gets put into a questionable fluid, what Margaret's going to inject into him. Kevin McCarthy just looks a badass there, doesn't he? Nasty piece of work. If you woke up in a bath full of ice and he was stood over you, you knew you were missing both kidneys.
Only went for my teeth.
Yeah. Only went for a scrape and polish. So anyway. Oh, he's back again. Here's that man again. You're in and out like a first-timer, Scotty. What the hell's happening, sir? Hello?
I'm in and out like an old person having sex.
Is Justin turned the electric on and off? Is there a media blackout?
Well, I'm in Canada, so you know they censor me.
Well, that's you can't fault him really. We know what you like. So what? Jack's about to be injected with another bizarre fluid twice in one day. Lucky bitch.
Sorry, have they attached that to a high pressure air hose?
Yeah.
Is that his arterial vein?
The jugular, yeah. As you do.
That looks dangerous.
It does, doesn't it? It looks quite technical anyway.
Well, he doesn't have to be
it's
alive
a movie.
For this.
True. So anyway,
preferably not.
They've injected him, but Lydia, being a typical woman, she's like 40 seconds too late. She gets everybody's attention, and then says to everybody, "Right, you get in that hole in the floor." And they're like, "You what?" Cops are coming. She says, "You lot, you get in there." And he says to Margaret, "I'm going to get you for this." She says, "Don't worry about it. There's no way they can figure out these controls." Jack happens to hit a wheel and it sends it down to 50% reduction ratio. And they make it go boom. Jack gets the shrink chip back. And everybody in that little pit, they've all been shrunk by half.
Wait, does he have the spaceship in his palm?
No, that's the other half of the chip equation.
Oh, okay, my mistake.
So he's stolen the. You need both chips to either shrink or resize. No matter which side of the process, you need both chips simultaneously. So Jack's Tuck's floating around, realized he's inside Lydia, and he's realizing he's running out of time and air.
I'd like to be inside Lydia. Sorry, what? Is my microphone on?
Yeah, and he goes up into Lydia's ear canal and starts playing their song, which is Cupid. And she says, "Oh,
draw back your bow."
That's the one. You got it.
Yep.
So she now discovers that Tuck's inside her. And Jack's like, "Well, that's why I can't hear him." So cops turn up at Scrimshaw's lab. And they look down. Everybody's been shrunk by half. Mr. Tough Guy there on the left, who looks like a Poundland version of Ric Flair, he passes out again. He spends more time being laid out, that guy. Crikey, you can't get henchmen like you used to. And Jack's coming down the stairs. Actually, no, this is before he fully realizes that Tuck's in Lydia. And he says, Tuck, give me the strength to knock this twat out. And he cracks him, knocks him down the stairs, realizes that he's not inside him and he's just done it off his own merits. And he says, hi there, Mr. Killer. And eventually decides to just kick him in the face and lays him out again. So they make a hasty retreat, but they're not quite on their own. So they decide to make a run for it back to Vectorscope. She realizes that Tuck's in her. They have a snog again. And this is another plot point which makes me laugh. How did Tuck know to get from her inner ear into the gob dead quick and make that swap back? There's a lot of implausibilities and plot holes in this script. But,
well, you say that they snog again, but I'm just sitting
Yeah.
here being like, Martin Short kissed Meg Ryan in her prime?
Twice.
Way to go,
Twice,
Martin
yeah.
Short.
Oh, no, there's more to come, but that's later.
Oh, I can't wait for the full penetration. Tell me more.
It doesn't go that far. So anyway,
Anal? Does Meg peg?
I don't know. We might find out. There might be an Innerspace 2, Meg pegs. That'd be quite interesting. There might actually be a
No,
film called
what?
that.
Come on. Innerspace. In her space? Come on. That's a porn
in his
parody.
ass. Definitely. So this white car, that's the team from Vectorscope trying to get these two back to the lab so they can put everything right. But there's a couple of stowaways in that car. He's like, where are you going, you dumbasses? White men can't drive. And all that bollocks. And, Tuck's rapidly getting a bit anxious about the oxygen situation. But, oh, look, they've got a couple of passengers in the back and there's no baby seats. It's Scrimshaw and Margaret, who have been shrunk by 50%.
This was a really funny scene.
It was.
There you go.
Look, Dick Jones's hands. They look really good quality, but they don't at the same time.
When it's moving,
There's a ring.
Yeah.
There's a pinky ring. That's so good.
And a watch.
Yeah. And cufflinks.
Yeah.
But it's Dick Jones's hands, you can tell, can't you? So there's a bit of slapping around going off. All of a sudden, Tuck gets a warning on his computer saying foreign body detected. And no, 85 isn't going to say, it looks like you've got one inside of you. It's not one of those moments, if you get the reference. And there's Mr. Igo in his version of the submersible out to get Tuck and that other half of that chip. If he's that destructive in that little sub thing he's got, how's he going to get that chip out safely and plug it in somewhere? That's bizarre. Anyway, come on, pictures. Move. Yeah, so Tuck's like, what the fuck? That don't look like a lozenge. Don't look like a locket. And it's not. It's Mr. Bennett. I am going to get you. Do you know, this guy does not have a single piece of dialogue. The only time you hear him is when he screams later. Although I've just kind of given that away, fuck. Oh, well. We carry on regardless. And then there's a bit of a fight at the back of Jack's tonsils. Mr. Igo trying to shove Tuck down into Jack's orifice, who misses. And there's a bit of a fight going off. He's got these big clampy jaw things. He keeps breaking bits off of Tuck's little sub. So he gets his own back. A bit of that surgical laser. That gives him a bit of what for. And they have a bit of a scrap, and then he comes back for a bit more. And, we're brought back with a swift reminder of the oxygen situation. It gets rather tedious. We know his oxygen's running out, but they get to the point where they're telling you like every 2 or 3 minutes.
Action scene, something happens, good special effect, some whimsy. You really have to see it to understand what's happening.
Timer reminder, tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more tension, it's going to snap. So, yeah, the little people cause the big people to have a car crash. And we're basically treated to a scene of Skegness on a typical Friday afternoon. And they crash on the beach. And they've left those new midgets in the back. Although they're not midgets. They're actually just shrunk people. Hello to everybody in the chat. I will be getting round to you in due course. I'm trying to...
wind down the movie.
Well, I'm trying to sort of like get there without being too overly boring. So
look at the sparks.
Yeah, this is one of Mr. Igo's thrusters. Tuck rather. He's getting a bit fed up and decides to use one of his robotic arms to penetrate Mr. Igo's booster. It gives him a bit of a boost.
And just like those people who went down to the Titanic, if they get a breach, they're going to just implode and die.
True. Well, Mr. Igo's got a bit of a problem, so he ejects. And his suit is like half and half. One half of it is that submersible. The other half's got like a jetpack on the back. So he's ejected. And then there's a bit of a battle going on. And he starts hyperventilating, but it's not for not a purpose. He's not hypochondriacing for a change. It's actually because Mr. Igo's like mucking about inside him. Now, Tuck's slipped down. How did he get from his throat all the way through his stomach that quick? You know, he's just about to enter the main crux of the stomach here. But Tuck's barely holding on. But Mr. Igo's being a dick. He's got one of... How did he know to go in with the drill attachment already on his snap-on hand? That's foreshadowing there, isn't it? Why did he go in with the dildo? He'd have had more fun with it.
Maybe the drill was under the dildo.
I don't know. So, you know, Tuck's looking a bit worried. Hang on a minute, we're a bit screwed here. He tells Jack, I've seen a tumor, and he starts getting worked up. So he lets the submersible drop into the stomach acid, and then Mr. Igo gets digested. And he says, Jack, you've just digested the bad guy, to which he lets out a well-timed belch. He's certainly lost some weight.
Look at those stomach acids going to work.
So there he is. He gives out his little belch. And this is great. I love this.
I love this scene.
You know, Scrimshaw stood on Margaret's shoulders on a phone.
Still, Margaret.
Joe Dante made use of forced perspectives in this, and he used them really well. I mean, fair enough. Yeah, that there's a prop.
Brilliant. Last scene in Top Secret.
That is a normal size phone booth, but it's with forced perspectives.
Yeah.
Oh, how he did that is just clever. So anyway, oxygen's up. They've got to get to Vectorscope. Jack's on his Tuck rather is on his emergency oxygen. They get back to Vectorscope just in time, and he uses a bit of hair lacquer to try and sneeze out Tuck.
You want to talk about Looney Tunes Chuck Jones? Kevin McCarthy using that oversized phone is hilarious.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all done to just the comedic timing. You know, if this had been just a regular spy movie, it would have flopped, but they turned it around. They made something out of this. So anyway, Jack sneezes and it ends up on that guy's glasses. Lab assistant scrapes him off Jim. And they get him back into the system, ready to get re-enlarged. So they're faced with another problem. That computer arm's too slow, so that dude grabs hold of it and just jams it in. And after those sparks, is it going to work? In real life, it's fucked. You know, that's probably a multi-million-dollar part. It is bollocks. It's toast. Tuck's dead. Jack's got that dude floating around in him for the rest of his days, basically.
Well, for a month till he pees him out.
So, yeah. So we're faced with an option now. And no, it's not rude. Because he says, oh, isn't that from a movie? And Jack says, yeah, The Exorcist, I think. You know, eat me, if you know what I mean. But it's obviously on about Alice in Wonderland, eat me or drink me. Yeah. So
the scientists that put it together, wouldn't they know the answer before getting confused about it?
Well, it's a plot device, isn't it?
Of course.
So he gets re-enlarged. after a slight delay, because it's counted down. Then, boof, there we go. Eventually, we get there, and Tux re-enlarged. Now, come on. This is so slow tonight. It's like we're on valves or something. So anyway, re-enlarged. There's Mr.
Dude,
Dildo's.
I'm not on dick jokes tonight. It's Monday. It's early in the week.
It's all right. We'll go steady with you. So there's Mr. Igo's snap-on attachment there. And Tux rescued. Hey-ho, he's safe. And it's like, oh, yeah, we're all buddies now. The ultimate three-way. And they're all quite happy. Then they get married. Which is funny because a few months later, Tuck and Lydia get married.
Oh,
Jack's the best man. So
okay. I thought you meant all three of them got married.
No,
and I was just like, what?
No, it's not Alien Nation. It's none of that.
No thruples.
No thrices in this film. It's a family film, even though there's dildos and certain rum words. So they get married, which is bizarre because, yes, they did end up getting married. Obviously, it's naval themed. Mm-hmm. Plenty of sailors involved, Z.
Hello.
Don't get excited, sailing unit.
Mm.
So there's all this like, oh, you're my best mate now. I've seen inside of you. And I've seen how big your balls are. And they're all loved up and cuddly. She gives him another snog there, basically, to be fair. But Meg Ryan looks fucking absolutely gorgeous at that point.
She does.
She is just, honestly, you know, I've got pre-cum dribbling down my leg just looking at that picture. Not that one, the one of Meg Ryan, obviously. But look at her there. Oh man,
peak.
In it. Mm. If she, yeah, you'd. No matter if it were covered in crabs, you'd do it, wouldn't you?
Tell us why you should have a criminal record.
I have a criminal record already.
I know, but like Meg Ryan should avoid you.
I wouldn't do anything. I'm all talk.
I know, right? But just assure her. Assure Meg Ryan that you're going to leave her alone.
I'd say you're more of a red flag than I am.
Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad point.
Yeah, true. So anyway, that guy looks familiar, the limo driver.
I know that nefarious face anywhere.
So hang on a minute. Is he having a bit of a cheeky shufty? Is he having a bit of a deep dive? Already. Mm. Nice cufflinks.
Oh, my God.
Look, it's those chips. Those multi-million-dollar chips. Like they just let you make them into cufflinks. Well, look who's inside that fucking suitcase. That is just gold. Just look the looks on their faces.
Are those Meg Ryan's knickers?
Yeah, and bra.
Ooh, hello.
He's a lucky bastard. Look at that.
He is.
He's got a face full of tit there, hasn't he? Let's face it.
What you're saying is that you want to be in a tumble dryer with Meg Ryan's underthings.
Not really.
Well, you just said you did. You were like, "Oh my God, all her undies."
It's all right. Like
you were saying it was a theme park.
Actually, do it in the real world because then that would make me some kind of a weirdo.
No, you're already some kind of a weirdo, my friend.
Oh no, I'm not quite that over the edge. But that look on Kevin McCarthy's face there, that is just gold, isn't it?
Like these aren't washed at all.
Yeah. Hurry up with that suitcase, will you? There's skidders in here.
Oh, my God. This is not getting better.
Oh, man. And he says to the limo driver, don't run any red lights. Take your time. He's probably having a bit of a cheeky shag on the back seat. But he looks very familiar. My
limousine is Kit.
The boots.
The boots give it away. It's the cowboy. So Wendy catches the bouquet, obviously, even though she's a big slag. She's going to try a look. So Jack and Lydia go off.
Yeah, but she's cute as hell.
Well, that's what every bloke she's been with has told her.
Yeah.
So, you know what?
At
I think maybe she appeals to Canadians.
Yeah. I quite agree with you. The doctor says, why don't you run by the office on Monday? I've got some new tests for you. And
wasn't that guy on the left on St. Elsewhere?
No.
He was a doctor on a very prominent...
He was a doctor in something else, and I can't remember what it was. But Anyway,
moving on.
Yeah, Wendy's like, she's wet through with Jack now. And Mr. Nazi bloke, he just wants him to stack tins of beans on Monday. So Jack says, Doc, I'm cured. Wendy, you've got no chance. And Nazi bloke, I quit because I don't like stacking beans. He says, Jack put to the rescue, gets in Tuck's car, and says Jack put her to the rescue, basically. And then he leaves some skid marks in the car park.
Huzzahs.
Huzzah. The line of the show right there. And then Wendy turns to the doctor and it's like,
hello.
I've got the cure.
I enjoy old balls.
It's like, hang on, if I give you chlamydia, at least you can cure it. And he's like, yeah, good point.
Why is it? Well, he could cure it. He's a doctor.
Yeah. Well, he could sort his own balls out, can't he? So
he would like her to sort the balls. Yeah.
So now
Speaking of which,
Jack's all big and hard, and he's loving life now, and he goes off to save the day. Jack put her to the rescue, so he's not a pussy anymore. He's the man, and he's going to rescue Jack and Lydia. And that's the end of the film. Thank you to everybody who's been in the chat. I know I've not really given you a deal of attention, but Manum knows Scotty's here and makes a comment like this. Good luck with the outro, Trev. Yes, I think I'm going to need it. So that's why I've ended the slides, 4 minutes early, so Scotty can get it all off his tits. When you're ready,
yes. Well, I would like to review this movie that I've never seen. I want to love it. Oh, no, dude, I already ordered it. I'm going to get the Blu-ray.
Let me seal the deal for you, Scotty. The score is by Jerry Goldsmith.
We already did, yeah, but totes, that was one of the selling points. That's why we got me.
And it
way
won
in
the
beginning
Academy
of the
Award for Best Special Effects.
Beating Predator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of all films.
And best bit was presented by Sean Connery, who went, Innerspace.
Well, and you know what? Yeah. When I first saw Chuck Jones, I was like, wait, that's not Sean Connery. So, no, I did order this on Blu-ray while we were talking about it. And but like, I would say that this is 7 out of 10, maybe an 8. I haven't seen it. Want to love it.
7.
Yeah. Like, I'm not giving it best movie in the world, but I'm giving it something that deserves my time. Now, I love Joe Dante. I don't like The Howling. I've owned it on Blu-ray, special edition, 4K, whatever, fuck off. And then I sold it because I was like, this movie's boring. So I don't like The Howling, but I do like everything else that Joe Dante has done.
He did make some good films. Like say, Gremlins, that's always a strong winner for me. The Explorers too. And
I know you love The Explorers. We should talk about that.
I think that will be covered a little bit later on. But we're going to get a good stock in the chambers and then slowly let things out because I need to find a flow what works well for everybody. Franco says, please subscribe and hit the bell, share and hit like and select live chat. Thank you, Franco. Really appreciate that. And yes, if you've tuned in for the first time and you've enjoyed what you've seen, I really would appreciate a sub because new channel, between the bunch of us, we're trying to grow it slowly but surely. And we really would like to, be in a position where we can offer this on a longer term basis, if you know what I mean. We're sort of taking it from a cottage industry to something a bit more pro. But I tried to go pro to start with and then realized that the costs were too prohibitive. So I had to cut things back a little bit. Yeah, no. I don't want to get like that. I want it to be self-sufficient so I can reinvest it you know.
But I want people to send me a She-Hulk.
Well, that's nice, and it might happen for you. Help Desk, thank you for joining me tonight. Your final thoughts as quick as you can.
Love this movie.
Oh.
It's great. If you haven't seen it, go see it. If we've done it any sort of justice, then I believe everyone needs to actually watch this movie. Invite your friends, get them to have a watch party with you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Z, what do you reckon, my friend?
Second VHS I owned after Crocodile Dundee. I absolutely love this film. It's an
Crocodile
80s
or Crocodile?
Crocodile. It's a porno.
I thought so.
I love this. I love watching it again. I love Martin Short's comedic timing and physical humor. The chemistry between him and Dennis Quaid is great. It's fantastic.
It is. It's a sublime film. Thank you ever so much to everybody in the chat for joining us this evening. And like I said before, please do subscribe and like and spread the word around to people about Monday Night Mayhem. I will see you this coming Friday for Fubar Friday. Thank you to everybody. Ta-ra!